I think the major kind of gift that doulas provide is companionship and prevents and buffers against isolation and the very dangerous effects that isolation brings.
What's the origin story of your project?
It started in 2018 in my heart. I'd gone on like a find yourself trip to the Caribbean, but I think what I really discovered was that I had the desire to be a mom, but I wanted to do that in the way that the Caribbeans do it. And I realized coming back to Canada that wasn't going to be true for me, that kind of close community, the kind of village, and then kind of did my research and saw that there was such horrific disparities between non-Black mothers and Black mothers, and that frightened me. So when I'm frightened, I just do the most and try to find answers. And doulas continued to be an answer to the Black maternal health crisis that was in full swing. The birth experience is just the first experience of the struggles of parents who are Black in this country. You know what I mean? If we equip our families, our parents with the skills to navigate that environment, well, then ideally those skills can transfer into the other systems that are not set up for Black families. And so a project like this felt like something that could be done.
But what is your project's core purpose? You kind of spoke about the work that you do and why, but I don't know if there's a way you'd verbalize what the core purpose is.
It's really about recreating community, reestablishing the village, and really designing systems of support for people going through transitions. And the specific transition that we're focusing on in this season is birth. And then the doulas piece is really about advocating to care spaces, to community at large, that there is a Black maternal health crisis and doulas are one solution. We are not the solution. We are not the silver bullet. We are not the fix to the problem. The problem is systemic and the solution needs to come from the systems. But in the meantime, between time, Black people will take care of ourselves as we always do and as we always have. And the doulas are going to do that work. We're going to do that legwork of, deep care.
But for those who might not know, what kind of services do doulas provide birthing parents, and how is it different and for some parents, working with hospital care?
I think one of the ways that we like to sum it up, just in the little doula circles that I'm in, is it's like a professionalized aunt, right? So there is no parallel between doulas and midwives outside of the fact that we support pregnant people. Midwives provide clinical care. It's a completely different path. It's a completely different set of skills, and it's a complete different set of responsibilities. The doula is really there to support the parents, plural, if there are two, in making informed decisions about their care. I think the major kind of gift that doulas provide is companionship and prevents and buffers against isolation and the very dangerous effects that isolation brings. Postpartum depression is said to be in about 40% of Black parents, and that's reported. That 40% is likely larger. So there's people who are dealing with depression on a high level and have nobody that they can talk about it with, have nobody who they feel comfortable sharing with. I personally do full spectrum, so I do postpartum care as well. The midwives usually are up to about 6 weeks before they have to leave. Doulas can be with them until they don't want to pay them anymore, until they want to end the contract. You know what I mean? So that could be anywhere from 6 months to a year, whatever the case may be. So having a doula that's there, that maybe you don't even necessarily articulate, listen, I'm going through depression, but this person understands that that's something that could come up, is looking for certain red flags, and is there supporting, asking questions, providing that space of non-judgment or judgment-free, informational, supportive care. And again, like we'd mentioned, sometimes that care looks like light dishes, light laundry, helping tidy up the place, putting things in order, You know what I mean? These things
Yeah.
that are so unnecessary, but when you are on 2 hours of sleep and this kid will not stop crying, anything helps. And your partner maybe isn't home so much because maybe your partner is working full time and they're out. And so then it's just you and this baby. You don't get to have adult conversations, like just somebody to connect with who understands what you're going through is so key and is so abnormal that we don't have that. That's a very Western Canadian whiteness thing. And so yeah, that's kind of again a little bit of a tangent about what doulas do. It is a really intangible role. It's tough to really put in a box, but I think the key word is support.
So you were recently selected for the 2022 Leading Social Justice Fellow of U of T, and your team's research will focus on collecting race-based data regarding maternal mortality rates and birthing experiences. How did you feel when you learned that you were selected?
Relief. I was like, oh, okay, finally. Like, because sometimes when we be doing this work, we think like, because anytime I'm like, I'm gonna do it, people are like, well, what's that? So like, I feel like, what's that? What do you mean, what's that? You know? But I get it. But it still kind of like hurts because it's like, we've been talking for a long time about the value of this work. So it's like, man, I can't even I wish I could just tell you I was a nurse or a doctor or a teacher or something that is in a box that's pretty.
That people can like get, they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I felt like, oh, okay, cool. Now I'm going to be in, like, if U of T sees the value in this, then maybe I can get it through to some other people. The fellowship is 6 months, right? So it's not much time. It's certainly not enough time to initiate research, especially going through all the kind of legalities that are necessary for the research. But what we do get to do in the 6 months is meet people who can help us push these things forward, get in front of people who can help us develop clear communication and create systems to help us gain access to the systems, right? What we've decided we're going to pour our energy into with the time that we have is putting together a kit that will articulate the problem and articulate our solution. One of the solutions being we need to collect data to articulate the fact that this is a crisis. We want to do a longitudinal study bringing food to new families over 3 years. And in that relationship building, kind of identify some of the gaps in care, some of the needs that are being ignored, and identifying the ways that we can meet the needs. But what I've noticed in my time in this space is that there's a bit of maybe hopelessness that Black people can't afford the services. So a lot of doulas have got into this work to address the Black maternal health crisis, but have found that they're not really getting to. And so with this project is not just for the community, but it is also for the doulas to get the opportunity to support the people that they want to do at a reasonable rate, right? Like at an honorable living wage. Altogether, like I said, this is the Young and Dundas of transformative justice. That's how I really see it, both from the doula provider side and the people who are receiving the care, who need support, who are owed support.